Some of you are going to be angry after this lesson, and you should be. So let's get to it. What we're looking at here in an overall sense is the cultural identity crisis that affects African and Black people. And what has caused that the fact that we don't want to be called African, as we learned in the last lesson from Woodson. And so now we're going to look at why is that, what caused that. And as I said, some of you are going to be angry by the time this lesson is over. We're going to look at statements that have been made by Europeans, white people, about African people over the centuries, that has been embedded in the literature, in the educational system, the religious system, over and over, that they told each other and they told us, and it's imprinted on our spirit almost. And so let's get to it. Now, I'm going to put these quotes so that you can see them. You'll be able to slow it down, stop it, whatever you do, you want to do when you rewatch the post. The first statement starts with Charles Louis Montesquieu II, who was a French philosopher, and he made this statement in 1748. And he said, "It is impossible for us," referring to Europeans, "to suppose these creatures," in reference to the Africans, "to be men. Because, allowing them to be men, a suspicion would follow that we ourselves are not Christians." And so he clearly makes a distinction between themselves, these Christian people, and the Africans. They can't be humans, is what he is saying. In the next statement is made by Robin Hallett. He was a geographer, and this is from a book, The Penetration of Africa, a map from Paris in 1761. And he says this: "It is true that the center of the continent," referring to Africa, "is filled with burning sands, savage beasts, and almost uninhabited deserts. The scarcity of water forces the different animals to come together to the same place to drink. It happens that, finding themselves together at a time when they are in heat, they have intercourse one with another, without paying regard to the difference between species. Thus are produced those monsters which are to be found there in greater numbers than in any other part of the world." What he is saying here is that in Africa, there you have these wild animals and you have the people, and they don't make a distinction between each other. They go to the water hole to drink water, and when the females are in heat, they just all start having sex one with another, humans with beasts and so forth and so on. And then you have the result of that, a bunch of monsters there. Now, mind you, this is from someone who never even went to the continent of Africa. Next, we have George Wilhelm Hegel. He's a German philosopher in his 1830-1831 lectures in Berlin. Now, if you don't know who Hegel is, let me give you a little insight. He is one of the pillars of the educational foundation of the Western world. And by Western, when I say Western, I'm talking about the white world, because that's what that term means. Without him, you would not have the educational system that you have in place. He is that important. This is what he said: "In Negro life," referring to African people, "the characteristic point is the fact that he has not yet attained the realization of any substantial objective existence, as, for example, God and religion. The Negro, African, exhibits the natural man in his completely wild and untamed state. There is nothing harmonious with humanity to be found in this type of character. What he is saying there, that Africans are not human. They are not people. There is nothing harmonious with humanity to be found in this type of character, he says. And Africa should never be mentioned, for it is not a historical part of the world. Africa would be historical if only you cut down the trees and count the rings on them that will tell you that time has passed there, history has taken place there. But he continues, what we properly understand by Africa is the unhistorical, underdeveloped spirit still involved in the conditions of mere nature. Africa had to be presented here only as on the threshold of the world's history. The Negro or the African has no movement or development to exhibit. They have not done a damn thing, is what he's saying. African people have done absolutely nothing. Let's move on. Someone that you all should know, Thomas Jefferson. He said, I advance it, therefore, as a suspicion only, that the blacks, whether originally a distinct race or made distinct by time or circumstance, are inferior to the whites in the endowments of both body and mind. This is one of the people that they have taught us as African people to admire. Thomas Jefferson, who clearly states what his opinion is, notwithstanding the fact that he was raping an African girl for years, had children with her, denied those children to his death. The DNA has now confirmed that those were his children. The people who are living now, the descendants of he and Sally, are in fact his children. Henry Berry, he was a Virginia House of Representatives delegate, and he says, pass as severe law as you will to keep these unfortunate creatures in ignorance. It is in vain unless you can extinguish that spark of intellect which God has given them. We have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which the light might enter their mind. That is, they have attempted to make it so that we don't even want to study, particularly the study of ourselves. He continues, we have only to go one step further to extinguish the capacity to see the light, and our work would be completed. They would then be reduced to the level of the beast of the field, and we should be safe. Now, we're seeing here these statements made by prominent people, and the reason that's important is because their words, their writings went far and wide and had significant impact on how white people saw African people. But it also affected how African people saw themselves, because they were hearing this. Just think, no one wants to be associated with that which is negative, that which is unattractive. And so this is all our ancestors heard about themselves from these people and these sources. And so quite naturally, they tried to distance themselves from it over a period of time. And we're still doing that today. I will continue these in the next lesson. Don't forget to follow, like, and share. And this is just a piece of the puzzle. Leave your comments on what you think about this in the comments.